I got to do this. I'm sorry, but there's something special. Everybody stand up real fast. I usually normally don't do this, but stand up. Give yourself a round of applause. Give yourself a round of applause. So David, I got to put you on the spot for just a second. So David and I were like, why don't we do a quick research? You can sit down. In fact, you have to stand up the whole time, you suckers. So David and I were thinking about doing a research project for this conference, and truthfully, I mean, how many people do you think companies did you think we'd get to take that?
Like 100.
I mean, I thought we'd maybe get 100 people to take this. We were calling it the state of, sales development. We were just kind of dinking around. This was like 2 weeks ago. So we get Nudge and Datanyze and Tenbound. We get probably half a dozen companies, Bridge Group. Guys, we almost hit 1,000 companies on the state of sales development. I mean, it's going to be awesome. So first and foremost, if you haven't already, I did not do that. That is that M on the bottom. That's those guys in the back. That's definitely their fault. Go to sdr.accelerateInsideSales.com. The report is free. You got an executive summary. I'm going to talk about some of the highlights today. We got 1,000 companies. We talked about people, systems, processes. You want to know how many variable elements people are using in their compensation? 2.7. You want to know the touches that sales development reps are putting on leads? 12.1. You want to know how many sales development reps there are in North America? You're going to find out in just a minute. So it's a 10-minute survey. It's meaty. It is meaty. Go to sdr.accelerateInsideSales.com and you'll be able to download it and check it out. I'm going to give you some of the results here real quick. So let's dive in. So I run what we call Inside Sales Labs. A lot of people say, what the heck is labs? I do not wear white coats and I do not have good-looking lab assistants. In fact, I got this really weird guy. His name's Brian Perry, and he looks weird, but it doesn't matter. Anyways, my job basically has 3 elements, and they're basically these 3 elements. So I do a lot of consulting. That's me at T-Mobile on the left-hand side. This is always my look. I run experiments. So we've been doing a lot of mailer experiments, and I'll be talking about those experiments today. And then that's just me hanging with Gary Vee. Anybody like Gary Vee? I mean, he is such a stud. I was with him a week ago and I had to snap a pic, and so I just wanted to throw that on there because I think he's cool. Anyways, please do connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook, YouTube. I run the Playmaker podcast. We just passed 15,000 listens on our Playmaker podcast every month. A lot of people ask me why I'm on Facebook, why I'm on YouTube. What do you mean? Why am I on Facebook? I think there's something there, you guys. I love it. B2B. I think there's something there. YouTube, video, if you're not doing video, Vidyard, OneMob, oh my goodness, I think there's so much going on there. Okay, so let's get into it. I think I made this up. A supermodel is the definition of a supermodel, not what you're thinking. Modeling people who are super good at what they do. A pioneer is someone with arrows in their back, lying face down in the dirt. What I want to talk to you about today is this concept of supermodeling. We just went out there and benchmarked 1,000 companies who do sales development, and I want to tell you what they're doing, and I want to tell you why they're killing it, and there's some really cool stuff. So again, 900 plus companies. We're currently sitting at 915. I think we'll break the 1,000 mark, hopefully by the end of the week. Again, thank you to Drift, Tenbound, Datanyze, Bridge Group, OneMob, SalesForLife, Inside Sales. Again, we pooled all our resources to see if we could double down on that. Here's our 4 things. Let's get into it. So number 1, how to build a structure like the best of the best. Number 2, how to make plays that can double your pipeline in 30 days. Number 3, how to build a cadence to increase your contact rate today. And number 4, how to organize your sales stack so it actually works. Here we go. So number 1, how to build a structure like the best of the best. So this was cool, you guys. We actually went into the census data. So we had my data scientist team to try to figure out the number of sales development reps currently in the market. What do you think it is, my man? Number of sales development reps currently in the market. 100,000. So we believe that there's 5.7 million professional salespeople. That's inside and outside. Now when we break that down, inside sales makes up 47.2%, which is 2.7 million inside sales reps. Of those 2.7 million inside sales reps, 25% are considered sales development reps. So if you were wondering, right now in North America, there is 677,400 677,479 sales development reps. That's what we're currently looking at. Now, we noticed in the study that there was two big characteristics amongst sales developments. Are you inbound versus outbound? And then are you high velocity versus account based? Some of you may kind of nodding your head. So this is how it broke down. Looking at those 577,000, 17.1 are considered wholly inbound. They're just responding to inbound response. That's all they're doing. Marketing generated leads. 28% are going outbound. They're targeted accounts. They're going cold. And then you've got 54.1% are this blended model where they're basically doing both of them. Now, why do you care about that? Why should you care about that? Well, the typical company would do the following, and I'm going to walk you through this model of specialization. I would start as a generalist, right? Then, I'm a small company. Then initially I say I've got a sales team and a customer success team. That's your first typical specialization. Next, you take my sales team and you break it into a sales dev team and account executive team. Then you take your account executives and you go engineers or territory or inside outside. Then you break your sales dev team into outbound and inbound. And then last but not least, you take your customer success team and break it into growth and success. This has been the typical specialization. We call it the path to specialization. Now, when we started to look at the data, you guys, I thought this was super interesting. When we looked at the data, if you're a transactional model, that's basically deal sizes under 32,000. So when we looked at 1,200 companies and we targeted the actual average deal size in the market, we believe the average deal size sitting about 32,000. Long and short, transactional models, their deal size is below that. What you're seeing here is if you were going to build a sales team, as you started with 0 and your revenue increases, this is how you would add different functional areas, and I've highlighted where the sales development teams are. So again, if I'm transactional, I typically am going to start with the inside sales team. They're cheaper. I'm going to add an outbound SDR first as my revenue grows. Then I'm going to add an account management team and an inbound sales development team, et cetera, et cetera. And these are all tied to specific revenue rungs. I thought that was pretty interesting. Relational model, different. If I'm selling big deals, 6-figure deals, 7-figure deals, and I was growing my sales team, this is how it would look. Again, I start with an outside sales team. I still have that outbound sales development person as a number 2 as my revenue grows. And then notice where that inbound sales development comes way later in the revenue life cycle. Pretty interesting as you're thinking about your go-to-market sales structure and how that applies to revenue. Good. So much more. Number 2, how to make plays that can double your pipeline in 30 days. Sorry, I get a little antsy up here. So I got this email like 2 weeks ago. I hope she's not in the room here. I'm just a sales girl, she was a girl, standing in front of another sales professional asking you to give me 15 minutes to chat about your day to day and how I think we're a perfect fit in your sales forecasting. And then you got this GIF embedded in it. Now, I love this movie. Does anybody know what movie this is? Nobody knows what movie this is? Not, oh my goodness, I mean like Notting Hill, come on. My best friend's wedding, is that what you said? No, that's not it. It is Notting Hill. Oh, I thought you were kidding. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you out. So you're wrong. Yeah, she was wrong. You're wrong. You need to leave the room. So it is Notting Hill, and I love Julia Roberts, so I actually responded to this email immediately. Now, the problem is these guys are competitors to us. So in your sales forecast, we sell a sales forecasting tool, and so I was like, I love the email, I really do, but seriously, we're your competitors, so you might want to check that. Nonetheless, I think we have moved past the stage of these kind of funny emails, and I think we're to a place where we can introduce something cooler. And I think it's mailers, you guys. There's something going on with mailers, and I want to make sure everybody in the room is starting to think about it. Here's the differentiation for you. Coming from the state of sales development, this is not Gabe, 70% of companies aren't using mailers. What does that mean for us?
So out it's in.
That's so out it's in. It's like my jeans that basically look like women's jeans. You know, I mean, they're in. Skinny jeans are. Mailers, I think, could be something fantastic. If 70% of people aren't using them, that means you should start thinking about using them. Now, I'm not anybody cool. Every once in a while, I'll write. So I wrote this article on LinkedIn. We call it the coffee play, and you'll see if you follow me or you catch up with me. We produce these different plays, these different experiments that we test and watch the results on. So we got 10,000 views in the first week on this article. And for me, I'm like, that actually means something. Well, what is the coffee play? When we think about running plays, if you're a targeted outbound sales development rep, we run through a 7-step process. We call it the closer's model, and it helps you close more deals. This is so important. If your sales development team isn't running plays, if they're doing this, shooting from the hip, you're in a bad place. You got to be running plays. And this is a 7-step process to do. I won't bore you going through all of it, but let me show you a quick example. So I'm going to pull this up. This is how I look at plays. And you can see up here on the right-hand side, is there a thing on this thing? Doesn't matter. Where it says effort, 4, 2, 2, 3, 1, 1. Basically, you guys, when you think of a play, there's really only 6 activities that you can do. And if you're not thinking about all 6, you're totally missing out. So when I call it a 4, 2, 2, 3, 1, 1, that's a terrible thing. 4 phone calls, 2 text messages, 2 voicemails, 3 emails, 1 social, 1 mailer. That's what that means. That's how I name my outreach strategy, just so I can kind of keep it in play. This was our coffee play. This is what we did, and the results were fantastic. But notice, this isn't an ABM strategy. This isn't just me throwing out a mailer. This is me then targeting. I mean, we start with the mailer. We do a call down first, then we ran the mailer. And then just a couple days later, right, we're going to make sure we follow up with an email. We actually brought in text message, TCPA compliance. There's some problems with that. I don't care about it. Mike doesn't care about it. Texting. I'm telling you, texting's going to be, there's something going on there. Mailers and texting, if you're not thinking about them, I think you're missing. Anyways, this killed it. Here's some of the basic results. So we sent out 3,000 Yeti mugs. We spent $200 on letters, $500 for Starbucks. We sent it to 50 people. That was $10 gift cards for Starbucks. $500 for shipping. It cost us $4,200. Again, the brand, big debate in the industry right now, branded versus non-branded with mailers. Stick with me. I'm going to figure it out. Because my sense is that non-branded is just as effective as branded. I don't know if you need to go. This took way too much time, to be honest. So I followed up with about 30 of the people we sent it to, because again, I'm in labs. I'm just trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. There was actually one comment where the guy was like, dude, like, leave me the F alone. You guys suck. I hate you. But there was some really good comments. This was a couple of them. This is how account-based selling should be done. I'm impressed. If I could scale what you're doing to my team, that would change the game. Look at these results, you guys. 36 out of 42 meetings scheduled. Now, nobody in this room, you can't tell me anybody's had 36 out of 42 meetings scheduled, except for maybe Chris in the back with Connect and Sell. That's a plug for you, Chris. You're supposed to thank me for that. Thank you. You're welcome. I actually really like what he does. Anyways, 36 out of 42. Now, the problem with mailers, you guys, is we call them false positives. You got to be super careful with mailers, because if I give you a free car, tell me your name, ma'am. Jennifer, if I give you a free car, are you going to take a meeting with me? Probably, you're going to take a meeting with me, but it doesn't mean you're going to close. It doesn't mean you're going to make it. So if you're not tracking it all the way to close, you're going to run into problems and say, hey, I got all these meetings, but they didn't actually get any pipeline. So do make sure you go pipe and close. We ran this just 2 months ago. We've closed 147,000 in ARR. We got 700,000 in pipe. The ROI on that was 35x. That's the kind of plays I'm talking about. And mailers, if you're not thinking strategically about it, like 70% of the market, you're totally missed. Good. Next is Cadence. Cadence, you guys, is so funny because it's like we're all talking about Cadence, blah, 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 Cadence. I don't know if we even know what the definition of Cadence is, and I don't know if we know what the DNA, the makeup of a cadence is. So we went about 30 rounds. Here's our definition of cadence: a sequence of activities to increase contact and qualification rates. I know that doesn't sound that complicated, but that's like version 42. And I won't bore you, but sequence and activities, and they all have meaning. But one of the big things is people are like, I thought cadence was just for contact rates. It can be and should be for qualification rates. You do it the right way, you can absolutely educate your buyer with the play or the concept that you run, and I'll get into it in just a minute. Oh my goodness, this is so good. Hey, can you go back real fast? Sorry. Hold on, go back. I didn't even introduce this video. I didn't remember it was here. So this is the first spam message. The first spam message in the US. All right, you're on, man. Oh, I have to click it? Yeah, sorry.
A prince wants wants to give us $20 million. He just needs our social security numbers. We're gonna be rich!
That was the first spam message ever accounted for in the United States. They actually caught it on film. I'm a little surprised. Anyways, Cadence is not meant to be spammy, but there is something about a multi-touch strategy that we need to be thinking about. So let me get your opinion on this. Again, this is coming from our State of Sales Research report. This is actually pretty interesting. Reps report doing an average of X touches per lead, but in reality, they do Y touches. Doug, I don't even know Doug, but since everybody else is using Doug, what do you think, Doug? He's like, I wasn't even listening. Oh, he wasn't paying attention. Not very good. Mike, what do you think?
Top of funnel.
Top of funnel? Is that what he said? Will someone answer this question? 8 and 3. What else? Anybody? 10 and 2. 10 and 2. Like, yeah, like the driving. Yeah, I got it. Okay, I'm with you. 12-4. You shady sons of SOBs. You liars, all you sales development liars out there. How funny is that? How funny is that? As a market, as sales development reps, we believe that we're touching the average lead 12 times, but I actually did a Cadence audit of 9,000 companies, 144,000 activities. I can tell you right now, the average touch per lead is at 4.05. There's, we think.
How do you define touch? Is it call, email, social?
That's correct, and voicemail is actually included in that. Voicemail is a touch in my book. Great question. So there's something going on there, and I think we all experience this. We all think we're doing more, and I promise you're probably not doing as much as you think you are and maybe should be. So here's what our research basically pulled out. That when it comes to cadence, you guys, there's actually 5 elements. So if I was going to sit down with you and I was going to build a cadence, this is how I would do it, and I want you to just think through it for a minute. Most people, at least in my book, have typically said, hey, let's build a cadence. Let's look at attempts and duration. That's what most people have said when it comes to cadence. I'm here to tell you that we're done with that. We're moving on. We're moving on to these 5 elements. Attempts, that's just the overall number of touches we're doing. So we're talking about that voicemail, social, email, etc. Media, that's the pattern that we're using. Are we going voicemail, email, email, email? Are we going call, email, voicemail, etc.? Duration, that's the length from first touch to last touch. Some of the more missed one is spacing. Spacing is becoming a big problem. We're finding top of mind awareness. So I was just at a company and they did a touch every week. The results versus bringing those down to 1 to 3 days, way better. So you want to tighten up that spacing. And then last but not least, content. When we look at the market, let me just give it to you real quick. Number of attempts, average is sitting at 4.05. Media is primarily email. We're an email-dominated SDR world. I mean, I was talking with Everstring. I think you're going to see phone call come back a little bit because we've gone too far the other direction, but that's me. Duration, what do you think the average duration is on a cadence? 7 days. It's sitting at 4.89 days. Spacing's about 4 days, and then content, the average prospecting email is sitting at 376 words, which is a lot. And then you're looking at the average voicemail is sitting at 23 seconds. Again, you can write that down. I apologize, I didn't put it in the thing. So here's an actual case. This is just a quick case study. Is an actual cadence. Now this was an inbound lead. And again, inbound versus outbound cadences, night and day difference. So stick with me for just a second. This is an actual cadence. Call 1, voicemail 1, email 1. And then you got email 2. Is, when you break that down, you got 4 total touches like you see at the bottom. The duration's 3 days, spacing's 1 day. I won't go into the content. We want to double down on that. This is how I coach them to improve it. This is a little bit intense. Optimal duration we've typically found to be in that 11 to 21 day range. Now again, that's going to be different versus inbound versus outbound. And guys, I'm not telling you what I think right now. I'm just telling you what the data says. So don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you what the data says. We've typically found it to be 11 to like 21 days, but again, that difference between inbound and outbound. On inbound leads, you got to go completely different. Everything says time is going to kill you. So you typically go real hard on the beginning. First day, second day, third day. You got a couple marks. 5 minutes, 24 hours, and 3 days on inbound leads. After that, I mean, you can certainly go to 11 days, and I typically recommend it, but your contact rates just drop significantly when you come to those time frames. Anyways, just doubling down on cadence, look at the results on this. oh man, someone messed up some of these slides, but doubled down their contact rates, way better meetings, and way more booked pipeline, and that was just a Cadence switch. I mean, that was really just doubling down and saying, hey, you know what? And it was so funny when I talked to this leader, like most of you, he's like, hey, my guys are touching 12 to 15 times. Let me show you what they were doing again. 4 times, yeah. When we actually audited his cadence, it was more like four times. So I think there's something, you may be thinking you're doing good on cadence, but there's a whole world of cadence, and I'm talking a data-driven cadence. I'm not saying I think it's 10 touches. Again, we've done an audit, 9,000 companies of cadence. We got our state of sales development. I think there's some good research there. Last but not least, we just got a couple minutes. How do you organize your sales stack? This was pretty interesting data coming from State of Sales. I think, has everybody seen this? Raise a hand. So truthfully, some of this I just don't like that much, but that doesn't matter. The average sales development right now is spending $174.50. That's what the average company is spending on sales development reps. Now, that does not include CRM. If you're including CRM, you're typically looking to 100 to 150 additional in licensing. So you can just add that on there. Now that 174 translates into 4.8 tools. Again, if you add CRM, that would be 5.8. And we've basically categorized it into these categories. You should have CRM, prospects, prioritization, intelligence, communication, motivation, and qualification. We believe those, for some reason I left out the other 2, we believe those are basically your 7 pillars of the sales development stack. And again, those 4.8 tools basically make that up. What do you think the most used tool sets were? Let's not go into company names because that'd be offensive. Well, let's not go into it. What do you think? What would be the most used tool? What do you think, my man? CRM, definitely number 1. What do you think number 2? Automated marketing, that was number 4. Good try. LinkedIn, number 2. So social prospecting was number 2. What's number 3? Number 5. I can't remember. Somebody say data list services. Somebody say that. Discover.org. Yeah, basically your to throw a shout out, Discover.org type people. So CRM number 1 adopted. So if you wanted to build a tech stack using these 5 tools, what I'm telling you is what 1,000 companies are doing right now. Here's their 5 tools. Number 1, CRM. Number 2, social prospecting. Number 3, data list services. Number 4, email. Number 5, phone. And number 6, this cadence concept. I mean, people actually threw in cadence enough that we're seeing that actually kind of start to play, and I assume that'll eliminate phone and email pretty soon. It'll just be considered a cadence tool. Number 7 was prioritization, so scoring tools, etc. So you want to think about your optimal tech stack? That's what 1,000 companies are doing. How do you solve this concept? You got to start here. You can't ever go with the shiny object, whether it's my company or something else. This is a famous quote by says, everybody, I am addicted to mapping sales processes. I probably have 250 sales processes that I've mapped from companies, well, not all over the world. I mean, mostly from the United States. Send me your sales process map. I'll keep it and give you some feedback on it. This is always the first thing I do. I always map it, and I've got tons of these process maps. This is from a company in Austin. I won't bore you, but this is like, now we can have a conversation. When I sit down with you and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Honestly, I'm like, I don't even want to do a discovery. I just want to see your process. Because when I see your process, I can have a real conversation. And again, how are you getting leads? What are you doing with those leads? Then you can't see it, but I've highlighted here some of the red areas. You know, we're managing leads in a spreadsheet. We're manually prioritizing. You know, they're punch dialing. Boom. Okay. You know, current state, future state, current state, future state. I mean, if you don't remember anything from my presentation, current state, future state, current state, future state. Now, I just threw in some of the people who partnered with us on the survey. You know, Drift, Datanyze, Nudge. I love it. I obviously had to throw a plug for my company, no offense. But yeah, that concept you got. I mean, this is, now I know where my holes are. Now I'm going to put in the technologies to do it. It's just a way better place to be. I mean, it's just the way you got to go. 4-step process, how to build a structure like the best of the best, how to make plays that double. Make sure you think about cadence. I think we're getting to a new level of cadence. And then how to organize that sales stack. most of all of that, please do connect with me. I'll be offended if you don't, even if you grab me on Facebook. Again, grab that free summary, sdr.accelerateinsightsales.com. Really meaty information. You're seeing the executive summary now. And David, I think my time is out. Thank you.